Have you ever dreamed of setting sail on a daring adventure, navigating historic waterways, and embracing the raw beauty of nature? Join us in this episode of NanoCruising as we embark on an incredible journey with Spiro, who sailed his CL16 from Montreal to Quebec City. Spiro's story is one of preparation, perseverance, and pure passion for dinghy cruising. From navigating the challenges of the St. Lawrence River to capturing breathtaking moments on film, Spiro's adventure will inspire you to chart your own course. Thank you, Spiro, for joining. I've been watching your videos on YouTube, and I was pretty impressed of the first one that I see of somebody sailing the St. Lawrence on a dinghy, and it's pretty long. What is that, 100, 150, 100, maybe close to 200 nautical miles, right? So, but first of all, I think, Spiro, if you could introduce yourself, a little bit about your sailing background would be really great.
Well, my sailing background, I started as a kid.
Right.
As a teenager. My father, we're Greek. My father's Greek, and he was a civil engineer, and he wasn't a big sailor, but he always wanted to be on the water. So, and he started a bit later. We used to go camping as a family, and we had a 14-foot rowboat, which we ended up converting into a sailboat with a plastic tablecloth and a tree that we cut down. And so we used to, just go with the wind up and down. And then later on, my father bought an 11-foot O-Day sailboat. It's like, it's kind of like a sunfish, but smaller.
Right.
And with that, my sister and I, we were on Lake Champlain, go camping on weekends with the family. And my sister and I would just get on the boat, go with the wind, and then be gone all day.
Right.
And in those days, it was, no sunblock, no life preservers, nothing. We'd be gone all day. My parents wouldn't be wondering where we were because, you go with the wind and you have to tack back, and we'd come back just before dark.
Different world today. You probably wouldn't allow your kids to do that anymore either, right?
Exactly. Then my father finally took the plunge in 1980 and bought a 23-foot sailboat.
Okay.
I think I was about 18, 19 then, and we sailed around Lake St. Louis on that.
Nice.
In university, I took a summer off and traveled through Europe, and there I was hitchhiking through Europe, and there I got to France, Sète, which is a coastal town of on the Mediterranean, right close to the Spanish border.
Oh, right.
And there was a sailboat there, a 36-foot sailboat looking for girl crew, actually. It was a captain and his nephew looking for girl crew.
Right.
And I went and applied anyways, and I got on the boat.
Wow.
And this boat was going all the way to the Soviet Union at the time.
Oh, jeez. Are you kidding?
So I just lucked out.
Wow.
The three of us, we cruised. And I got on because I spoke, these guys were American.
Right.
And only spoke English. I spoke English, French, Greek, Italian.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, so you were the the translator everywhere.
I was the mouth. I was the mouth on the boat. That's what they called me. But I just lucked out. It was the first American pleasure boat to ever enter into the Soviet Union.
Wow.
And we crossed the Black Sea, and then all
I was going to ask which way you went, so through the Black Sea side. I don't think you could go there these days, eh?
No, that's all shut down. Well, we ended up in Odessa.
Wow.
And spent a few days in Odessa, then flew up to Moscow for a bit, and came back down, then Odessa to Yalta in the Crimea, another place you would be going to. But it was just beautiful, spectacular people, and I just lucked out to get on that trip.
Wow.
And then that gave me, the desire to eventually want to sail.
Right. What a great story. What a great way to be introduced to, sailing and different cultures for that too. That's great too, right? So, and how did you end up? I guess the CL16 is what made this video series. So, did you get that for that series or?
No, because I retired a little early. I sold my business at 55, and
good for you. Freedom 55. Good for you.
Yeah. And then COVID hit a little bit after that, and I knew I wanted to sail, and I've been, watching all the YouTube videos, reading books. I've never read so many books, tons of books about.
You should see my library.
Yeah.
So you have a Contessa too, I think, right? Is that what I saw too? Contessa 26?
Yeah, I have a Contessa 26,
right,
which I bought last year.
Okay.
And that's a 1984 Contessa in Nova Scotia, because always my inspiration and all that was to end up in Newfoundland, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to sail down the St. Lawrence to eventually sail in Newfoundland.
Just to get a little bit
And
of a
then
shakedown. Is that what you were thinking? Get a little bit of a.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. The CL16 was it because it was just going to get me on the water. I had my father still had his boat. My father sailed till he was 93 years old
Mm-hmm.
on that 23-foot boat, and I could have sailed around that, but I wanted to do something a bit of a trip.
Mm-hmm.
And then this, at the time too, with the videos I was watching a lot of is it Roger Barnes?
Right. Roger Barnes, the god
He's
of dinghy
yeah,
cruising,
yeah.
definitely.
And I read his book, and I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's the thing to do is to
It
get
is. Absolutely.
a trailerable dinghy and go to all the places that I want to go to. I was even thinking, I would trailer it to Newfoundland and sail around there. But
Wow.
and as far as going down to Quebec, like, I didn't go past Quebec
Mm-hmm.
because at the time when I was doing it, people around me were saying, "No, no, you got to stop. You don't go past Quebec City in a dinghy. It gets a little bit more difficult."
I don't know. Have you ever read
So,
Frank Dye? He's got a bunch of books that he did. He's passed away now, but he's done with the Wayfarer, which is the same thing as the
which is the
CL16.
same thing.
He's
Yeah,
gone to Norway from England. He's gone to Shetland Islands, and he's actually I don't think he went to Newfoundland, but he's done the whole east coast of the USA and the
yeah,
Great Lakes. I mean, they're capable vessels. Of course, you have to pay attention to the weather and so on, right? Being the size, but
yeah,
definitely they're very
yeah.
capable vessels. So,
That's what I'd like to do is do Maine
mm,
and the Great Lakes. It's the Apostle Lakes, I think it is, and Thousand Islands. And
yeah,
my next trip, what I'd like to do is do Kingston to Montreal or even Toronto to Montreal.
right, right.
But the St. Lawrence, the Seaway, just my sail maker, because when I wanted to put an extra reef in the sail, and when I brought it there, I told her, this way I just met her. I said, "This is what I want to do," and she right away, she was like yelling at me, "What are you doing? Are you nuts?" She goes, I've crossed the Atlantic twice, and I've done the St. Lawrence once, and I'll never do the St. Lawrence again. So from past Quebec or getting to Quebec, it gets a little bit hairier.
Hmm.
So there's also a really good 4,000 nautical miles on a Wayfarer, I think it's called, where this guy sails from Greece to the Crete and then across to Egypt, goes down the Nile
Right.
and back. And that's like about an hour long video or whatever. It's really well
Wow,
done.
I haven't seen that. I'll look for it.
Yeah,
Definitely, I'll look
I
for
think
it.
it's called 4,000 nautical miles to the Nile or something like that.
Wow. So tell me more about this Montreal to Quebec City trip. So the
Yeah, like
preparation, planning, and so on. Challenges that you faced. I know the good things. Like, well,
yeah.
you're going with the current, thank God. But yes.
Well, that's what I read is that to go with the current and go after June 15th
Hmm.
because that's when the wind comes from the west mostly. When I actually did it, it was in July and
Hmm.
the wind was not always at my back, So
No, it
yeah,
never is.
but
It never is, Spiro,
yeah,
right? You know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yet at least
But the
the current
current,
with you. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, past Trois Rivières, that's when the current really picked up, and I rode a lot also. But then just with the current, it was just keeping the boat straight. You're going at a good clip.
Hmm.
But preparing for all that was just reading up, then buying the boat, and this was in 2021 actually. And it was during COVID, so it was
Hmm.
at a time when kayak, anything on the water, kayaks, canoes, boats, sailboats had like gone way up in price, and nothing was available. So I kind of jumped at. I knew I wanted to get a CL16,
Hmm.
and I just jumped on the one that I had probably overpaid it a bit,
Hmm.
but whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Right.
was in good condition and all that, and well, I thought it was in good condition, but it had a really good trailer on it, which is important to me
Yes.
because I knew I was going to trailer back,
Hmm.
and I expect to keep on trailering as well too.
Hmm.
So
Did you
yeah,
have to make any modifications from the original? I know you go
yeah.
into that in one of the video, but maybe if you can explain some of the major modifications you had to do or any changes.
Yeah, the biggest thing I guess are the oars. I want to install the oars to be able to row,
Right.
because that's what all the wayfarers, all the dinghy sailors all have the ability to row. So that was to figure all that out. I ended up having 8-foot oars when mostly what I was reading was you had to kind of have 9 or 10 foot oars.
Mm-hmm.
But eight foot did the trick.
Okay.
And even anything longer than that would have been really cumbersome on the boat as well too. So I'm
Right.
kind of glad
It gets long.
that,
Yes.
that eight, yeah,
Right.
feet was the right amount. The
Mm.
motor that came with the boat ended up was an old Johnson, 2 horsepower, and then that I ended up upgrading to a Mercury that I found. I drove like 2 hours up north. Again, during COVID, everything is selling and all that. And I paid $900 for this motor, which was failed me a couple of times, but it was way better than the one than the old Johnson.
Right.
Then cleats, I added cleats to the boat, and I'm glad I did that
Mm-hmm.
on the stern on either side and at the bow. I put some really good backing plate. Had to install the motor mount
Mm-hmm.
on there with solid backing plate as well.
Mm.
Then the CL16 sails that I had, like the sail maker where I went to bring in the reef, she was kind of looking at it going, it's seen its better days. But I mean, it was good for my purposes. But what I ended up doing is I found some CL14 sails for
Mm.
sale
Mm-hmm.
that were in much better shape.
Okay.
And then I ended up using the CL14 mainsail. I had both sails, but I always used that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then I had the CL16 jib
Mm-hmm.
with a furler. I had a furler installed
Right.
on it, so that
That's
I
great.
had to modify the sail to be able to go on a furler.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really helpful.
Nice.
Yeah, my concern with the sails, because I was solo sailing
Mm-hmm.
and I'd never really sailed on a CL16 before, and I knew I was going to be in cold water and
Mm-hmm.
those hairy places. I didn't want to capsize or turtle anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
so that's I felt a lot more comfortable with the 14. And if I had to,
Yeah, maybe underpower is
yeah,
probably good. Right?
underpowers is good because I mean, I was doing like 9 hours and 10 hours on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a good wind and you're heeling for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay upright and everything, or have too much sail, well, that's really tiring.
That's tiring,
So
definitely. How long did that trip actually take? It's hard to tell from the videos. Is it a week or something like that?
well, it was 6 days.
6 days. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I got on the water at around 6 o'clock on a Monday, and I got to Quebec at the end of the day on the Saturday.
Where did you start? Boucherville? Somewhere around there?
In Varennes, in
Varennes,
Varennes.
just past Boucherville.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You cover great grounds too, like the Sorel area is fantastic too, right? So
Yeah, Sorel. I found a little right across from Sorel, a little marshy
yeah,
little
there's so many islands and
bay type
marshes
area.
there, right? So
That's where I had my big harp, and it was just blowing like crazy and really noisy. That was, and I think my anchor was dragging.
you anchored. I saw you anchored. You also went on the beach a couple of times, I guess, and pulled it up on the beach. I think one time I saw you pull it up on the beach somewhere. Did you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that was past Trois-Rivières.
Okay. That looked like a great spot. Definitely.
Oh, it was spectacular.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah. So I'm sailing, and I thought I can go another half hour or an hour, but then I look over and I see there's like sandy beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start again. I take my sails on. I start rowing in because for some reason it was really shallow, also in certain areas. So I thought I was going to be running aground, but then what it ended up being was the mouth of the Bécancour River that feeds into the St. Lawrence,
Mm-hmm.
and it was incredible on both sides, sandy beaches.
Nice, eh?
Yeah, and of course. I see a sign and it says La Petite Floride, and then I check on avionics, and that's what it's called. It's the Bécancour River. It's called La Petite Floride,
No
little
way.
little Florida. And
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great discovery, right? You didn't even know about that. You just kind of discovered that, which is fantastic, right? So,
Yeah, I just took off, figuring I'll be able to anchor or pull up the docks, the people's docks. Also, if somebody had a home that I was going to go, my plan was to go and introduce myself, talk to the people, and say, hey, do you mind if I dock at your dock
hmm
overnight?
any bad days to you? Storms, anything that caught you surprise?
Well,
Ever?
Lac Saint Pierre
It's a big lake around Saint Laurel,
is a
right?
big yeah, it's a big lake. And then in the morning to get there, though it wasn't very windy, and I had to go around some shallow areas where anyways, and then finally the wind picks up and I'm sailing a good, I don't know, a good few hours with the wind. And I'm going, this is just as I'm saying, this is amazing. I think I even I have it on the video. This is the best sail ever. And then I'm about halfway across and then it right in the middle, like, and then all of a sudden, well, actually I look at the other end towards Trois-Rivières, and there's some black clouds. And then I'm talking, I'm talking to my wife about it. Hey, there's cell service, right? So I'm talking
Yes.
to everybody and all that, killing
Right.
time. And I go, hey, yeah, Petra, there's some black clouds up there, but. And then she goes, oh, I think it might be from the fires in Ontario. Like it, because at the time there was fires burning, and and the clouds were so I was going, oh, okay, it's all right. So, but keep on going because it was just beautiful. There was a nice wind. The Lac Saint Pierre was flat, but all of a sudden, poof, the wind just changes direction. It comes from the east.
Yeah.
The surf picks up. I get tossed, right? My jib, I'm trying to pull it in, furler sticks. So, and then I drop my sails and I'm getting knocked around, start my motor.
Yeah.
And then there's a few rocks around there too, where this
Oh,
one boat,
jeez.
they were fishing there, and there's like 4 or 5 guys in a power boat, and they see it. I see them. All they were obviously locals. They right away they pull in their fishing lines and they hightail it to shore, and I'm going, oh my
They
god,
left you there.
am I missing something here?
Oh,
Is something
no.
really bad gonna happen?
Oh, no.
I start my motor and I see which way, what direction they're going in. So to where they're going to go for shelter.
Right.
So I kind of follow that area and I'm getting pounded. And in the video, you don't really see.
No, you don't have time to do that, do you?
No, yeah. I was a video when I was videotaping. You really don't see the swells, any kind of sailing
No,
video. You don't really
that's
see.
always hard to capture.
It was pretty hairy. And then, of course, it took about half an hour to get closer to shore, and then that's when my engine dies, and I realized later I was just out of gas. So now I'm rowing and being blown down the shore of the lake, wondering and where those guys went in. I checked on avionics. There was a little sheltered area with like a little
Okay.
bay
So you were
that you
aiming for
could get
that.
through a narrow area. I was aiming for that, but there was no way I was going to get into there just with
Just
my
rowing.
oars.
Right.
Yeah, so I was rowing along the shore for I don't know how long, but then I see a marsh, so I just started row. I rowed into the marsh, and there was a bit of a point that kind of was a little bit protected, and then I was going, okay, I'm going to go in here, and I'll probably never make it out of it. I thought I was going to run aground there, but it ended up, of course, an hour later or 2 hours later. I don't know how much time, but 2 hours later maybe everything stopped. The sun came out. I was in this beautiful marsh with the anchors. And
Perfect.
made myself my Chef Boyardee
Yeah.
pasta.
There you go.
Then I
Yeah.
thought of taking off again, but I said, you know what, I'm going to spend the night here. So
Right. Right.
it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was
Wow.
spectacular.
What about the great moments? I guess when you arrived Quebec City, that was a big highlight. When you saw,
Yeah.
probably when you
Well,
saw the bridges, right?
crossing under the Pont de Trois-Rivières,
Oh, yeah, that's
because
a big
that
one.
was, yeah, that I went from finish crossing Lac Saint Pierre, and then you end up where the river narrows, and there too, the weather just kept on. It was raining, it was cloudy, it was sunny, and then the approach to the Pont de Trois-Rivières, it was dead. I was rowing for a couple of hours, but going under the bridge was because I'd gone over that bridge so many
Yeah,
times.
right, right.
Yeah, and then looking down and finally being under there.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
one.
it was cool. And then
Yeah.
getting to Quebec and sailing. I mean, how many times have we been to Quebec growing up?
Right,
So many
right.
sporting
I know I've
events,
been over that bridge so many
my
times, but
kids. Yeah, sailing in right in front of Chateau
Chateau
Frontenac and all
Frontenac.
that
Right, right.
was just beautiful.
What else are you gonna go? Are you gonna go another trip on the CL16, or
Yeah, that was definitely, like I said, like my plan
did
was.
it give you a taste of more? So,
Oh, for sure, for sure. Part of the motivation, the inspiration was for my father, because my father would have loved to do that trip as well too. So, but he was the one that was saying, "Okay, Spiro, enough. Stop in Quebec. Don't go past
he was
Quebec."
getting worried about that, right? Of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Any
yeah.
Any tips and advice for sailors or would-be sailor considering this type of similar cruise or something like that?
Just get yourself a boat and go out and get on the water. Like,
That's what I tell everybody. Just get a boat
yeah,
and go. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As far as preparation and my knowledge of sailing, but I never really sailed on a CL16. And I thought I was going to go up and down at Lake St. Louis, right in our neighborhood, that
Mm-hmm.
I was going to sail every day and really get to know the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, stuff got in the way, and then it was time for when I wanted to go.
So you didn't really have
And
a shakedown cruise, you're saying, right?
yeah, no, I did. I did a bit. And like I sailed one day myself, and then another time with a couple of other people. And when I was sailing alone and the boat was empty, I mean, it was really, reactive, and any little bit of wind,
Mm-hmm.
So, but with two other people on board, it was a heavier boat. And then, which when I had all my gear on the boat, when I went down to St. Lawrence,
It was also heavier.
it's heavy. So
You probably a lot of
yeah,
stuff too, right? So yeah.
yeah. So I just went. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I mean, you have to have, basic knowledge of sailing and everything. I could have spent a lot more time, on Lac Saint Louis, where it's more forgiving, and go dinghy, cruising,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I plan to do this summer. I'm doing that. If I'm not in
Sure,
Nova
why not?
Scotia,
Sure, why
I'm
not?
here. I'm here out on my boat,
Right,
uh,
right. Wow.
CL16 here. It's not luxury, but you're in nature. It's like if you like camping, if you like canoeing,
Mm-hmm.
you'll like dinghy cruising also.
All good, Spiro. We'll look forward to see more of your more of your videos and learn about your sailing adventures. Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you having on me on here. And I think your podcast is excellent, because I haven't seen any other dinghy cruising.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of why I
small,
started it. It's not
yeah,
about me. I
yeah,
thought there isn't any.
yeah.
I like to play with audio and so on. So I said, you know what? Let me start out. Let's see how that goes. And I've been able to reach a few people. As you'll see, there'll be more
Yeah.
episodes coming.
No, it's good, and it's good. So it's about getting people out, and that's what people hearing this hopefully will get the urge to go out there and go sailing sooner than later.
Inspiring, isn't it? So, now in our next episode, we have Derek from Scruffy Marine, which will come and talk to us about his journey through designing boats and providing boats for dinghy cruising. So, until next time, seize your own adventure.